Coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios, this is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are our top stories.
It further underscores the need for us to diversify our export base.
President Ramaphosa says the decision by the U.S. Congress Committee on Foreign Affairs to approve the bill that is aimed at punishing South Africa still has to go through process before it can be the law.
Every time he comes here, he will have to account as to what happened to those other committee recommendations that were sent.
EFF leader Julius Malema says his party will push for the ad hoc committee looking into threats to national security to start its work as soon as possible.
For the first time in a century, we are on the brink of a breakthrough.
Minister of Health says the world is on the brink of a breakthrough to having a vaccine to prevent tuberculosis in adults and adolescents in the next few years. The day's top stories delivered to you in depth. Good evening and a warm welcome to you. You're watching Prime News on SABC 3 and my name is Becky Mutumomolete, your anchor for tonight. Let's get into the top stories that are dominating this evening, and here they are. We begin with news just in. 5 cash-in-transit robbery suspects have been fatally wounded during a shootout with the police in Crown Mines, Johannesburg. Firearms have been recovered. Details are still sketchy at this stage. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the threat of U.S. tariffs on South African goods highlights the need for exporters to diversify their destination markets. He was speaking at a BMW celebration of its investment in the country for over 5 decades at the Rosslyn car manufacturing plant in Pretoria under the theme Leading Today, Enabling Tomorrow.
A celebration of producing BMWs in the country for over 50 years, with the future looking brighter as BMW has introduced an additional shift of production to churn out the X3 model, largely for export markets.
Last year, we opened a new chapter in the history of this plant. With the launch of the new generation of the BMW X3, we added a plug-in hybrid to Rosslyn's portfolio, a new drivetrain, and a big step for this plant, as it marks the beginning of a new era.
Giving the keynote address at the gathering, President Cyril Ramaphosa lauded BMW for its recent additional investment of over 4 billion rand in South Africa. President Ramaphosa also spoke to the need for exporters of all kinds, not just automotive manufacturers, to eye new frontiers for trade in light of tariff threats.
Recent announcement on tariffs by the United States, of course, has a huge impact on all of us. It is an important market for our vehicle exports, and it further underscores the need for us to diversify our export base.
The president cited the rest of the African continent as a potential growth market for local manufacturers to penetrate, to grow the sector, create jobs and contribute positively to GDP. Nampumelo Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Ramaphosa also responded to recent threats by the U.S. Congress Committee on Foreign Affairs to approve a bill aimed at sanctioning ANC leaders.
We've heard about what has happened in a House committee, and that whole process still has a long way to go, and discussions will be ongoing, and we don't know exactly what is driving all this, and our bilateral dealings and engagements with the United States will continue, and we will talk about all manner of things, including precisely this issue and many others. We've got good diplomatic relations with the US, and we want to enrich them and make them better. So we're very positive that the outcomes of our engagement with the United States will be comprehensive and all-encompassing, so that we can return to good dealings with the United States.
In other news, the president has made several bold decisions on governance over the past few weeks. He has placed Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave over allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi that he colluded with criminal elements. The president has also recently dismissed Higher Education and Training Minister Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane and the Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, Andrew Whitfield. Despite this, the economic freedom fighters believe that the president is being hampered by factions within his party.
The local political landscape has seen significant shifts in recent weeks. President Ramaphosa's hand has been forced by allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi about corruption in the police. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has since been placed on leave of absence pending a Judicial Commission of Inquiry. Higher Education Minister Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane has also been axed following growing criticism over her handling of the SETA board appointment processes. EFF leader Julius Malema believes more heads should have rolled, including that of National Police Commissioner Fanny Masemula.
Arrest against Masemula is out. I don't know why it's not being picked up. It means someone somewhere is playing politics, and someone they want to undermine once more the independence of our justice system.
Also accused General Mkhwanazi of holding his press briefing as a preemptive strike due to the Hawks investigating him and Masemula.
Mkhwanazi's press conference was a preemptive strategy, and perhaps the arrest for Masemula is delayed by that.
President Ramaphosa has given the Commission of Inquiry, led by Acting Deputy Chief Justice Buyiselo Madlanga, 3 months to provide a preliminary report and a final report after 6 months. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Welcome back from the break. EFF leader Julius Malema says his party will push for the ad hoc committee looking into threats to national security to start its work as soon as possible. Malema briefed journalists in Cape Town ahead of the EFF's 12th anniversary rally in Khayelitsha this weekend. Yesterday, the National Assembly adopted the report by the Joint Committees of Police and Justice and Constitutional Development to establish an ad hoc committee.
The matter is closed.
The EFF has been at the forefront in calling for an ad hoc committee to investigate these allegations. It says it will send its leader to serve on it.
We are a committee that will make the necessary recommendations to the Assembly, and the Assembly will send, if agreed, those recommendations to the President for implementation. And every time he comes here, he will have to account as to what happened to those ad hoc committee recommendations that were sent. It's going to be a full-time job. It's going to be a everyday job. And the parties that are sending people there, for a change, we must be prepared to work even on weekends. We have an emergency to deal with. We cannot prolong this issue of police anymore.
Malema added that the party's rally in Khayelitsha, a long-time ANC stronghold in the DA-governed province, aims to celebrate the working class who have stood by the party since its inception.
Our presence in Khayelitsha is also a political statement that development must not be a privilege of Camps Bay or Stellenbosch, but must reach the forgotten corners of this country.
The EFF says it has erected a dome that can accommodate 10,000 people and expects it to be packed. It is the first time the party celebrates its birthday milestone in the Western Cape. Zelene Merrington, SABC News, Parliament.
Minister of Health Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi says the world is on the brink of a breakthrough to having a vaccine to prevent tuberculosis in adults and adolescents in the next few years. Motsoaledi was addressing stakeholders at the landmark TB Vaccine Country Preparedness Workshop in Johannesburg.
Now, for the first time in a century, we are on the brink of a breakthrough If the clinical trials that are underway succeed, we may have a vaccine that can prevent TB in adults and adolescents within the next few years. That in itself is huge, huge history. And I'm sure the world is waiting in anticipation for that day where we shall be announcing the availability of a vaccine for tuberculosis. Having worked in this sector for a very long time, I know that we had reached a conclusion long ago that the only game changer in the battle against TB is a vaccine.
And in the next story, over 40,000 netizens were already waiting in the lobby when the Gauteng Education Department opened its online applications portal for the 2026 academic year for Grade 1 and Grade 8. Education MEC Matume Chilwane officially launched the platform just after 8 o'clock this morning.
2, 1, and switch on!
Anxious parents were already waiting in the lobby hours before the official opening of the online application process for the 2026 academic year.
I'm so positive that the school that I've chosen, it will be the school that it will be admitted for my child.
I don't have any anxiety. I hope for the best for my kids.
Overall, I was happy with everything, but I'll be happier if my child is placed at Harangua Primary. Otherwise, I'm sleeping at the MEC's office in January.
The department often has to grapple with an influx of learners from several provinces in South Africa and from other African countries. This leads to some learners being unable to find a placement at schools at the start of the academic year.
We need people who are in the country legitimately, with correct papers, and there's no prioritization. If there's such a school, bring it to my attention. But as far as I know, the system looks at that first. It looks at, obviously, South African children, and then it looks at other children from foreign national countries.
Offenses Timo, SABC News, Harangua.
The defense in the Senzo Mayiwa murder trial has indicated that it will bring an application for the charges against the accused to be dropped. This after the state rested its case in the High Court in Pretoria 3 years after it started leading evidence. The trial had to start afresh in 2023 after the then presiding judge, Shifua Maumela, recused himself due to ill health. The prosecution contended that the 5 men who have been standing trial were involved in the killing of the soccer star in 2014 and that his then-girlfriend, Kelly Khumalo, had ordered the hit.
The trial, with the state finally resting its case. It brought witnesses to the stand who were inside the house when Mayiwa was killed, who testified that 2 intruders entered the Khumalo home and one of them was carrying a firearm. Witnesses also placed all 5 of the accused in Vosloorus on the day that the soccer star was killed. Cell phone records were also presented in court which pointed to alleged communication between Mayiwa's then-girlfriend Kelly Khumalo and one of the accused, and the state also heavily relied on the alleged confessions of accused number 1 Muzi Sibiya and accused number 2 Bongani Ntanzi, which indicate that Khumalo was the trigger point. But Khumalo was never called to the stand.
And on that point, my lord, that concludes the leading of the evidence for the state. Okay. And we close the state case. It's precisely 3 years since the state started leading evidence, and the state now formally closes its case.
State case closed. The defense will now have its turn, a possible bite at the witnesses that the state never called.
The law is very clear that any witnesses who is not called by the state is at the disposal of the defense, and that will obtain here. We make all witnesses that haven't been called we make them available to the disposal of the defense.
When the case resumes next month, the defense indicated it will apply to have the charges dropped against the accused. Griselda Lewis, SABC News in Pretoria.
Thank you for staying with us. An investigating officer in the insurance fraud and murder case of police officer Rachel Kutumela and her two co-accused is opposing their bail application. Sergeant Keshi Mabunda told the Polokwane Magistrates Court that if granted bail, Kutumela, her daughter Flora Shokani and sister Anna Shokani will interfere with witnesses.
Now that you just said that the investigations are at an advanced stage, would it be possible that the accused person or the bail applicant now disturb or in a way hinder the investigations that are pending if she is granted bail?
That's correct, Worship. As she did, Worship.
Now, you'll excuse me, because when you say that the investigation are at an advanced stage, and when this bail application is completed, the prosecution will be ready to issue the indictment. And at the same breath, you say that the applicant, if granted bail, they will hinder investigation. What investigation will the applicant now disturb the prosecution with? Because
Your Worship, she has already interfered with the witnesses.
National Treasury has been impacted by what could be a global Microsoft cyber attack, with malware discovered on its systems. The Treasury has revealed that its infrastructure reporting model website, a crucial online system for infrastructure reporting and monitoring, was infiltrated by malware. Several national governments were affected by the exploited Microsoft software.
Released by the National Treasury, it confirms the identification of a malware on its IRM website. South Africa joins countries like the US, Europe and Asia that have been exposed to the attack that has affected about 400 companies.
So what's happened is another confirmation of the vulnerability of all computer systems to cyber attacks, and Microsoft, being the largest software manufacturer in the world, is obviously one of the biggest targets.
Microsoft has attributed the breach to Chinese-sponsored hackers that are said to be amongst those exploiting flaws in its SharePoint software.
Microsoft is doing everything they can to roll out patches to shut it down and to get ahead of it. And that's all they can really do, is get the software out there and make people aware that you need to install the software. There are quite a few other security sites that are recommending very technical changes that can be made to help protect.
Despite the security breach, the National Treasury has assured the public that it remains fully functional. It has confirmed that all systems and websites continue to operate normally without any disruption. The hope is for the cyber attack to be contained sooner, described as a high-urgency threat, with SharePoint said to have a deep integration with Microsoft platforms, including their services like Office, Teams, OneDrive and Outlook, which has all the information valuable to an attacker. Katlego Logodi, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. Now let's take a quick look at what to expect in our weather details for this evening going into tomorrow. Isolated showers and thunder showers expected over most parts of the country, all the way from the northern Cape province into the Free State, the northwest, KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, as well as Mpumalanga, the Eastern Cape, and southern parts of the Western Cape province. The western parts of the Northern Cape province can expect clear conditions going into this evening. Tomorrow, cold front is passing through the southern parts of the country, leaving isolated showers and thunder showers over parts of the Western Cape, extending into the Eastern Cape province as well as KwaZulu-Natal, going into the central interior and parts of the northwest province, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, as well as Limpopo. Now, if we take a look at our weather warnings for tomorrow, we do have a yellow level 2 warning for damaging waves along the southern coastline of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, beware of this warning, as this can make navigation at sea quite difficult. If we take a look at our overnight minimum temperatures for tonight, 5 as a minimum in Bloemfontein, 2 in Bethlehem, quite cold as well in Johannesburg here with a minimum of 7, 8 in Pretoria, 13 in Messina, Palabora 12 overnight, Durban 14. Along the east coast of the country, an average of 15 over East London, Komani 7 overnight, Beaufort West 8, Sutherland remaining quite cold there with an overnight minimum of -2 degrees. Maximum temperatures expected to warm up quite nicely there in the Limpopo province, Messina peaking at a maximum of 27, 28 in Palabora, 22 here in Pretoria, or rather 21 in Johannesburg, 22 in Pietermaritzburg, 18 in East London, Komani expecting a maximum of 15, 13 in George, Sutherland cold with a maximum of 11. Uppington will be quite cool with a maximum of 20. That's all from the weather desk.
And that is all we have time for this evening. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back with you again tomorrow night for another installment of Prime News on 3. Until then, from myself and the team, stay ahead. Good night, South Africa.